Teaching in the 21st Century with the Brain in Mind. Presented by Emiliano C. Camarillo, Walden University. Dr. Virginia Ann Bullock, EDUC 6651, Teacher Leadership in the Classroom. This presentation will be broken up into three subparts: Anatomy and Physiology, Brain Research, and Teaching with the Brain in Mind, Implications for Teacher Application in the Classroom. Part 1, a basic introduction to the anatomy and physiology of the brain. The human brain is a complex system made up of several working parts, so for our purposes today, we will only focus on the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. The frontal lobe is responsible for decision-making, problem-solving, consciousness, and emotions. This is the part of the brain that gives us our personality and must be protected at all costs. The parietal lobe is responsible for processing sensory information, which allows us to pay attention to our surroundings and orient ourselves in our environment. The occipital lobe is responsible for visual processing and object recognition. The temporal lobe is responsible for auditory processing, language comprehension, and speech, which makes it an integral part of the communication process. Part 2. How brain research informs best practices for optimal student learning. Neuroscience reveals 4 major findings every educator should know. Neuroscientists have found that the brain is sculpted through experiences called neural plasticity. Second, the brain seeks meaningful patterns to hook new information to. Third, emotion is definitely a catalyst for learning, whether positive or negative. And fourth, there are 2 types of memory: procedural memory and declarative memory. Finally, Part 3. Teaching with the brain in mind, using what neuroscience tells us to become better teachers. Sculpting the brain through experience happens in a variety of ways. Teachers need to remember that they need to think about their classroom environment because the hands-on activities that teachers provide in their classroom impact student learning. The following is an example of a classroom in which a teacher designs a rap song to help the students learn about explorers in the 4th grade classroom. Something else about the brain that teachers need to be sensitive to is that the brain searches for prior knowledge to hook information. So, if there is no network to hook new information to, then the teacher's job becomes to create a new network. And how do teachers create new networks? They do it through concrete experiences. Here we see a classroom of kids learning about Alaska. We see a pelt, snowshoes, and primitive hunting tools. Another example of using hands-on experience to establish a knowledge base is seen in the following example, where students are learning about the human heart.
Sooner rather than later?
The favorite thing that I've learned so far is about the contracting muscles in the heart and how they work and open the valves. And it's so fun to, see what's inside the heart.
Finally, what teachers need to remember is that they are using, accessing, or establishing learning through 2 types of memory. The first is called procedural memory, which houses memory for action skills, conditioned responses, and emotional responses. Tying one's shoelace is an example of procedural memory. At first, we had to think about what we were doing, but as we did it more and more, the action became automatic. The other type of memory that teachers need to remember is the declarative memory, or explicit memory, which handles factual information, recollections of words, definitions, names, dates, faces, etc. The following is an example of a 3rd grade teacher who helps her students remember their factual memory from the previous year.
We're doing multiplication war, where they play against each other and they flip the cards over and they multiply them together. So again, fact fluency.
We are playing multiplication war, and we're doing it to learn our multiplication facts.
And then they're also playing multiplication memory. For each task, they are asked to answer a summary question to help them understand why what they're doing helps them to memorize their facts. They've done it with paper and pencil since 2nd grade and they still don't know their facts, so what I'm trying to do is give them a unique way to help them remember in a fun and hands-on way.
So, in conclusion, teaching in the 21st century means paying attention to neuroscience and the brain Educators must gain a basic understanding of how the brain works so that they can create meaningful and effective learning experiences for all of their students.